nightclub in Exeter has become the first venue in the UK to become accredited as drink spiking aware.
So this means that staff have received particular training on the sorts of substances used, the symptoms of drink spiking, and also preventative measures that can be implemented to keep punters safe.
Joining us now is Dawn Dines, who is the founder of Stamp Out Spiking, which offer the course, alongside former Love Island contestant Sharon Gaffka, who recently shared her experience of spiking on Good Morning Britain. Dr. Hillary has joined us as well. Sharon, when you shared your experience, I know that what happened afterwards was quite overwhelming, just in terms of the amount of people that contacted you with what had happened to them. Just in case anyone missed it, just sort of outline what happened to you.
Yeah, so after the first lockdown in 2020, I was out with my friends at our favourite restaurant. I'd had a couple of drinks celebrating a friend's birthday, and the next thing that happened to me was that I was found passed out in a ladies' toilet cubicle.
Terrifying.
And how quickly did the correlation between what happened to you physically and the fact that your drink had been spiked come about? Was it your friends that worked that out? Was it the next day that you thought, what on earth happened there? How did you make that conclusion?
I think my friends had made that conclusion pretty quickly from the moment they saw me. I didn't really comprehend it until maybe a day after, because my memory, I have no recollection of anything apart from being there 1 minute and waking up in A&E the next.
And you were in a restaurant. Sorry, Kate. You were in a restaurant. Were you aware of somebody sort of being near you, someone putting something... I'm not putting something in your drink, but someone could they get access to your drinks like that?
I think maybe my inhibitions were a little bit lowered just because we still had, COVID restrictions and rules, and obviously you weren't allowed to mingle around. So I think maybe I was just a little bit more relaxed about who was being around the table because you weren't really allowed to be there. So I personally didn't think about it like that.
But you don't remember someone sort of being near you? Your friends don't remember a moment where it could have happened?
I mean, yeah, we do. But I think it's very hard to prove because there were things that we could have done at the time that we just didn't know we could do at the time. And that's why it's so important to talk about it now, so that in the future, people in my situation know what to do to help themselves.
I was surprised because I've talked to my daughter about this. She's only 15, so she's not going out clubbing, but obviously...
Not that you know.
Well, not... Yeah, I know. Don't know where she is right now. No, not that I know. But, even with, like, pop and, soft drinks, I say, be careful, be careful. And I was pleased that her and her friends are very aware of it. For me, growing up, for Ben, we were saying this wasn't something we were aware of, but only at the weekend. A friend of mine... had it happened to her, and she's around my age, had it happened to her at something, and so it feels like it's everywhere suddenly. Is that just our perception, or is it more prevalent than ever before?
Well, I believe that this has been going on forever. And thank you for bringing that point up, actually, Kate, because I think everybody always assumes that it's alcoholic drinks that get spiked.
Yeah.
And it can be just as easily to be a non-alcoholic drink that can get spiked. And as you were saying, that with the training, we believe that upskilling as many people in the nighttime economy on the symptoms of drink spiking, what to do, having a clear policy and procedure so that everybody knows exactly their call to action.
So what happens with the training then, Dawn, and what can clubs and bars and restaurants do to try and prevent some of this happening?
Well, with our training course, it's a 2-hour interactive course and participants are asked to come on. We teach them about the extent of drink spiking. We also teach them about the symptoms, what they can do. And as Sharon can probably tell you, there's something completely different between having too much alcohol and having your drink spiked. It is completely different. And it's just this myth, I think, that people say, oh, you've had too much to drink, when that's not actually the case.
And we saw some footage, I think, of one of the nightclubs where the drinks are caps are being put on open glasses.
Yes.
Is that something that's happening more, is that more prevalent now? So you can see it there, when that actually stops access to anybody putting something into the drink short of putting it down the straw?
Yes, there's a few different products on the market. There's the spikies, which goes into the top of a bottle. The stop tops, as you've seen there, on a glass.
And are they hard to lift up? It's not something people could lift up and pop in?
No, they stick quite well. And if somebody touches it or tampers with it, you'll know that somebody's touched your drink.
Right.
And to be honest with you, we should never be leaving our drinks unattended these days.
No, but I suppose there have been incidents, haven't there, where people can be in a situation where they even just put it down next to them at a bar
Yes.
or, you know, out for a meal and, you know, whatever. And I guess this would be a very simple way of just keeping that
Very
safe.
simple way.
Yeah.
And it's so effective. It's just going to stop an opportunist. And also the message that it gives out is that there will be zero tolerance on drink spiking. And I think the more venues that use these sort of contraptions, then it's just really going to show that those venues will not put up with drink spikers being at that venue.
Yeah, and I guess, Sharon, from your perspective, often what the accusation can be levelled at somebody who suddenly looks extraordinarily drunk.
Yeah.
They've just drunk too much. Don't give them the sympathy. Don't give them the time. Don't call an ambulance. But as Dawn was saying, it's a very different thing, isn't it? How are you going to get people to sort of appreciate the difference between drinking too much and actually being spiked?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was victim to that same thing about being classed as too drunk as opposed to being spiked. And I think, you know, what Dawn is offering in terms of training is really important. I've always advocated for better education around the subject of spiking because, you know, there are great things on the market that can deter people from spiking people, especially like with lids on drinks and things. But, you know, my fear is that they'll just move on to a different way of spiking. So it won't just become drink spiking. And we're seeing it more now with spiking by injection.
So that would be injection into the glass or into you?
Into you.
Yeah.
Which also causes other health risks in terms of whether needles are clean, how they're disposed of and things. So for me, you know, I really appreciate what Dawn's doing and going down the educational route to try and show people what symptoms of spiking look like and how we can educate
You talk
people.
about the health risks as well, which is huge. I mean, that's a major concern of this. We're sort of talking about what happens sort of physically to somebody, but what happens to the body afterwards, Sales?
Well, depending on the drug that's used, and there's a whole array of drugs that are used, you know, it's not just inebriation, but it can affect, you know, breathing, respiration. People can vomit, inhale their own vomit. There have been fatalities as a result of spiking. So this is not a trivial thing at all. It's on the increase. It's extremely common. And unfortunately, when people get as far as hospital to be looked after, to make sure their vital signs are OK, it's not often that a forensic examination is done on blood samples for toxicology. It just isn't the case. So, I mean, if every case was examined like that, it would actually cost the NHS a vast sum of money. So it's not usually done by the NHS unless the police demand it, and the police do it, or they're worried about the critical care of that individual patient. So we often don't find out exactly what's used, but it might be all of the psychoactive substances. It might be things as diverse as morphine, as MDA, ecstasy, alcohol itself, or chloral hydrate, all sorts of things, but the date rape drugs as well, depending on whether it's being used for purposes of theft or sexual assault. But we certainly need to bring more cases to court. But it's difficulty finding the perpetrators often.
Well, it sounds like a really great initiative, Dawn, and this nightclub in Exeter is hopefully the first of many that becomes drink spiking aware, just being able to explain to the staff what to look out for and sort of employing some of those things.
And then the idea of it going on to injections, as we've talked about on this programme before, is just terrifying.
Chrissy's just said it's not just the girls. My nephew got spiked on New Year's Eve, and it was a girl that did it, apparently. His mate realised immediately, as he doesn't drink, he had to take him home. He was out for hours. Lexi said a friend got spiked on Saturday. She passed out, had to go to hospital. Something needs to be done. It's just
well, if you have been affected by any of the issues raised, then we have put some advice and support at itv.com/helpline. Some good advice there. And also, start looking at those products. It would be worth having some of those lids in your own handbag, wouldn't it?
Yeah.